Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, What's Keeping Marketers Awake at Night. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. This webinar duration will be 45 minutes to 1 hour, and kindly check with the system requirement like headphone, stable internet connections. And you may send your questions at any time during the presentations. So we will collect those questions and address them during the question and answer session at the end of the presentation. I would like to introduce today our guest speaker, Mr. Indraneel Ganguli, who is a founder, director at Reaching and top 100 marketing influencer in 2018. And he has 25 plus year of experience in the field of marketing. So, welcome, Mr. Indraneel, and his presentation to overview and take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Komlesh, and thank you, Corefactors. I hope I am respectively audible to all of you. Uh, my name is Indraneel Ganguli, and my company is called Reach IG. I am otherwise known as IG in industry circles because I have a long name, and I preferred that. So I think I started that process by branding myself before doing anything else. So, having spent time in advertising and brand building early on during the first few years of my career, I then moved on to telecom uh, brands, and there I had the opportunity of marketing across to very large base of consumers and consumer groups. That prompted me to undertake several rounds of research to understand consumer psyche, consumer behavior, etc. And from then on, after a few years, I moved into B2B marketing with one of the world's largest IT companies. And I had the privilege of leading the marketing function at that company. And just last year, I started my own firm. It is called Reach IG. Reach IG is a consortium which helps companies to get more business, to generate more qualified leads, to help position their brand correctly in the market, to do repositioning if required, to help the brand and its stories to go out into the market through various channels, social media, media, etc. It helps companies and brands to assess their market potential or any issues that are there in the market through research. It helps companies create bespoke merchandise items for gifting and for helping their employees feel proud to be part of that brand. And this is a consortium which also deals with below the line activities like events, like promotions, in-shop displays, and what have you. So Reach IG is a full-fledged marketing consortium, and we are operational since October of last year, and we are helping our clients in India and in the US, in Europe, and other parts of the world to get a handle on brand and business. So, my 25 years is kind of slightly inconsequential because I think a lot of things have changed in defining what true blooded marketing is. Because when I started my career, things were much, much simpler. There was one national channel, there were just a handful of newspapers, and we exactly knew how to reach our target audience. So, can you take me to the next slide, please? Thank you. Uh, but today, the media scene has fragmented beyond imagination. Today, all of us know the power of the multi screens. So imagine you're sitting and watching a television program, you would be holding on to your mobile phone, and during the ad breaks, your eyes are going to be on the mobile screen. So advertisers are today trying to figure out how do you serve their messaging and their advertising during commercial breaks on the television program, and still get that audience. So today, technology is trying to figure out a way to serve ads programmed with television so that the television ad can reach your mobile during a possible ad break, or or otherwise. But let me try and get to a more fundamental issue, and the issue for all marketers and all of you who have joined either represent a business or a brand in some company or the other. What's keeping you busy? And especially if your company is not a multinational, it's not a Fortune 500 company, it's a mid-sized company, or it may be a startup, it may be a company which is just growing or just launched, you would realize that your businesses are regularly facing many challenges. The first challenge is to hire the right people, because the right people will be able to guide your company into a better position. Then it's all about increasing sales. Whatever is your service or your product, ultimately it boils down to how much of sales you have and what does the sale book look like. So your job is to help your company to increase sales. Third is to be able to make and maintain payroll on time. Whether you've been able to get business or collect your receivables on time, you still have to go ahead and pay your salaries. So that is something that's keeping you busy. Of course, you have to file your taxes on time and provide for quality customer service all the time. Whether you're a product or a service, your customers are obviously getting demanding by the day. And then, after all this, there is marketing, and that becomes the least of your priorities. But believe you me, marketing should be an equal priority as much as filing your taxes or increasing your sales are. Because if you don't pay attention to marketing, then you will be losing out on gaining the mind share and the market share that you desired when you started your business. However, having said that, there are more pressing priorities of operating a business that demand your attention. And today, whenever you look at research, so I've quoted a research from Lead Pages and Infusionsoft, where they're saying that about 50% of business owners uh, handle the marketing efforts on their own, because they think that by saving just that little bit of money on marketing, they will be able to do a better job. They are wrong, because marketing today is a very, very specialized function. And I can assure you that marketing requires both a science and art to be able to deliver whatever is desired to be delivered. So you'll also have to struggle to track your return on investments and to understand whether your marketing activities are effective. So these are indices on which marketing needs to be done. Next, please. So I tried to put together the 7 marketing concerns of business owners. This 7 could be 17, this 7 could be 5, this 7 could be 70. I don't know. But I thought that these 7 were perhaps most pertinent and relevant to the economy that we are in and in the economic conditions we are operating. So number 1 is lack of resources. And these resources are budget, people, and time. And you're always going to struggle. You'll always see that you are a few dollars less, you are a few brains less, and you don't have that enough time. And I'm sure everybody in this world, and you're not alone, struggle with these 3 resources, whether it's a government, whether it's a company, whether it's a corporation, whether it's an institutional or a body. Everybody has lack of resources. This is good and bad. If you have plenty of resources, you tend to get lazy, and you get complacent, and you start losing out on in the market. The second point is to increase your visibility and to generate quality leads, and that, I think, is a ubiquitous issue. You will have to keep on making your brand visible and have the awareness meter ticking northwards while you're generating quality leads. So you will often find that a lot of people would have heard about your brand, but is that translating into sales? So sales and leads are an integral function of whatever your efforts are, and without sales and leads, your other efforts are meaningless. Because media is fragmented, we have to choose the right media mix, and in today's world, the right social media platforms. Social media is very good because it's less expensive. It is almost instant, on the go, and the best part is you can measure uh, your marketing ROI through social media. How many people have been reached? How many people have opened and clicked your email? How many people have asked you questions? How many people have ignored you, etc., etc. The fourth point is consistent execution of marketing activities. And this is where I think most companies fail, because they start off with a bang, but over time they think that, okay, I think I should prioritize and let this wait for the next month. And there is the fundamental mistakes which are going to start happening. So you'll have to make sure that you stick to a plan and your activities follow that plan consistently with a cadence and rigor. You'll have to be producing and delivering content for your brand and your business. And without content, today, video is leading the content pack. And with video, you can create a lot of imagery, you can create a lot of impact. And of course, the written word, written content. This is important because otherwise, your brand is not going to be taken seriously at all. The next point is to keep up with trends and technology. Today, you have technology which allows you to reach a target consumer directly as a one-on-one, because everybody, I assume, who are your target audience, if you're in an urban product category, would be at least carrying a phone, and of course within a phone, a smartphone. However, having said that, it may not be correct for us to assume that everybody carries a phone and a smartphone or has a laptop, but there are many other ways of making sure that you keep up with the trends and technologies available. If you need to reach remote villages and remote corners of a particular country, then you need to deploy the right techniques there as well. And I can assure you, there are many, many villages in India which do not have television but have the power of mobile and internet. So you'll have to play smart. You'll have to make sure that you do the right things by keeping up with the trends. And finally, you should be able to trust when you're outsourcing your marketing activities, because a lot of people will come in and claim that they are the best, or they've done the best kind of work. But you'll have to find a logical fitment to your marketing problem or your marketing opportunity. Next. So there can only be two scenarios. Either you have a marketing plan or you don't have a marketing plan. So I've super simplified this message and slide for you. So if you have a simple marketing plan, it will help guide your efforts based on your goals and resource constraints, which means there is going to be some method in the madness. And secondly, it will enable you to be more effectively marketing your business to your ideal client, which means to see there is going to be some amount of visibility when you have a marketing plan. Without a plan, you are groping in the dark. You don't know who you are targeting, when the message is going to hit, and you're going to do a lot of marketing, but then there are going to be no results. The scary part is if you don't have a plan, then everything looks like an opportunity, and now that you're chasing the shiny object. So you'll be going across and trying to create an opportunity, and you'll be chasing a goal which perhaps does not exist. And you're most likely going to look at competition and copy paste what they do. That's going to be dangerous for your brand. Next. So what's a marketing plan? I've tried to explain very, very simply, what is a marketing plan and how can you create a marketing plan? First and foremost, you've got to determine your marketing goals. You've got to focus on your goals on increasing your brand visibility and generating quality leads so that your activities help you overcome those two primary challenges. The first challenge is awareness, and the second challenge is business, which is sales, which is leads. The second thing is to define your marketing strategy and those strategies that will help achieve your goals. Now, suppose your goal is to increase your market share by X percentage in Y period. Then that is a strategy that that's a goal that you'll have to keep in your mind, and accordingly, you have to frame your strategy. Suppose your strategy is to make sure you reposition your competitor by launching a new product. You need to adopt a different strategy. So you have to define your marketing strategy yourself and with the help of your marketing partner. And I can tell you that once you've defined that, the rest of the stuff becomes easy and is executionable. So you have to be very practical about what you can and cannot do based on your resource constraints. I mean, today, if I ask you to run 100 meters faster than Usain Bolt, it's going to be very difficult for all of us. But so you'll have to be practical. But if I tell you that you can train yourself for about 6 months and try and run 100 meters in or within 20 seconds, then it's a goal which is stretched, but you can at least give it a shot or give it a try. Uh, I work with a few marathoners and runners here in Hyderabad, and I can tell you that there are many people who found it very difficult to run the first mile. Today they run 50 miles. So you'll have to keep on increasing the impetus and the momentum, and the same holds true for brands and businesses. The third point is to outline the activities you will use within each strategy. And there are many activities you can use where you have to figure out the ones that make sense for your target audience and will work for you in terms of resources. For instance, if you are representing a liquor brand, then please do not try and get your messages on your brand in the morning. Anybody who consumes liquor, and seriously, is the liquor is the last thing that they want to think about when they're sober and when they're trying to work. Your triggers should only be after sundown. Or for that matter, do not try to sell a non-vegetarian meal to a vegetarian audience. It doesn't make sense. The relevance is very, very important. So you'll have to have a strategy and you'll have to define your activities tailor-made to your target audience or your target groups. And finally, it has to boil down to actionables, which is what needs to be done today, what needs to be done tomorrow, what needs to be done within a week, what needs to be done within a month, and what needs to be achieved within a business quarter. And for that, you need an action plan and you need an editorial calendar, a marketing calendar. Now, these are things which you may or may not be able to help do yourself. For that, you may need a marketing agency, and that marketing agency is going to help you draft both of these and make sure that you're absolutely running with the ball and sticking to your higher purpose. Next. So what's important here is the action plan and the editorial marketing calendar. The action plan is a schedule of each step leading up to successful execution of an activity. For example, if you plan to do a webinar, you will obviously need a schedule for finalizing the presentation and promoting the webinar across various channels and making sure that people are registering, making sure you are socializing with them even before they register so that you ensure that a good audience has registered and that webinar is successful. The marketing calendar will help set the schedule for what content and trigger that needs to be produced by whom and by when. So suppose you are organizing an event which is to launch your brand, or you're supporting another event as a sponsor. Your calendar must have a schedule who is going to do what and by when. For instance, if in that event an audiovisual of your brand plays, you need to have that audiovisual ready, loaded, tested before the event begins. Uh, and whoever is responsible for it must be also held accountable for its success and making sure that the AV runs right when it has to run. So all these things, whether you are ordering your t-shirts online for supporting an event, or you are buying social media and you are deploying a campaign, all of these must have a calendar and a logical flow. So you can't just buy without your finance people not getting involved in it. So you must have a, a way of alerting your finance folks that, look, I'm buying so and so time on this particular channel, so and so spots on this channel, and this much of space on social media. So I need to pay this kind of money by so and so date, and so that your media your finance guys are ready with that money to be dispersed. So what is important here is a rigor of an action plan and a marketing calendar. Next. So I don't know, this slide seems to have gone a little corrupt. Um so basically, I'll try and read it out. Uh, when you think of doing things yourself versus your outsourcing, there are several challenges, and I mentioned some of them to you. So especially small businesses and solo professionals have resource constraints, and we normally lack people, and we rarely have a huge budget, and there are only 24 hours in a day. So always think three things: good people, money, budget, and time. These are the three things that will influence all your decisions. And with many marketing strategies available to you, trying to do it all is overwhelming, and you should also not do it. You have to leave a few things to the experts. Once you're focused and you exactly know what is it that you will do, what is it that you will outsource, it will help you determine how you can outsource your marketing function and some of your marketing activities. Next. Just go back. So most important is a report card. Without a report card, marketing is meaningless. And I say this, that everything boils down to a report card, because you would then know whether you need to improve. And what cannot be measured cannot be improved. So you need measures, you need key performance indicators, what we call as KPIs, and there are many ways to do that. For instance, once you run a campaign, how do you measure marketing effectiveness? So for brand awareness, your possible metrics could be a website traffic, page views, video views, document views, total reach, downloads, social chatter, referral links, etc. For engagement, which is very important, blog comments, how many people liked, how many people shared, how many tweets happened, how many pins were there, how many forwards, how many inbound links, etc. In terms of lead generation, your form completions and downloads from your websites or your other brand parking lots is important. Email subscriptions, blog subscriptions, conversion rate are very, very important, and you need to measure them as you go along. When it comes to sale, I always use a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead, and a sales qualified lead is the real measure. However, for sales in today's context, online sales, offline sales, manual reporting, and anecdotes are very, very important. Do not sit in your comfortable chairs in your AC offices. Please step out into the market, talk to your dealers and distributors. Please go ahead and talk to the trade. You will get a first-hand feel and sense of how your brand and your product is doing in the market. If you do not have, if you don't need channels, or you don't have channels, then you must have focus group discussions with your target audience, whether it's a service or a product, to actually ascertain what they think about your brand, what they think about the category, and you will get a lot of insights. Customer retention and loyalty is very, very important, especially for B2B businesses. You need to deploy account-based marketing, the way to measure it is percentage of content consumed by existing customers and retention and renewal rates. There are no set formulas here, but I can always tell you that if your existing customers are asking you for your content, that means they are serious about brand engagement. And if you can measure it with how many people, how many of your customers have been a part of your journey over time, then you can make sure that you arrive at some logic and you arrive at some way of and your messaging is working. And finally, it boils down to upsell and cross-sell, the uh, which is the new ways of making sure that you entrench yourself within an account, or you get new customers, or you get existing customers buy more of your products. And sales of new products or services is the best indicator here. I can only tell you that if you measure it correctly and properly, it will have an impact on your top line, which is your revenues, your company's bottom line, which is your profits, and an impact on the customer experience, which I think is most important in today's life. Next. So I've given some examples here from brands whom I believe are doing phenomenally well with their marketing. Some of these are big brands, so do not get enamored. I can assure you, you don't always need to spend a lot if the idea is correct, if the idea is huge, if the idea is big, and the creative execution around that idea is superb. So if you look at somebody from Upwork, they are targeting the graphic designers, and most of these graphic designers uh, often suffer from lack of good fonts available in the system. And they're saying that if you're currently using Comic Sans as a font, then you need some graphic design help. So the relevancy of the category with the target audience is absolutely there. On Upwork, after they ran this campaign across billboards, across airports and other catchment areas, saw a huge uptick in their sale. Deloitte Global Impact is another campaign which is all about creating focus groups within the Deloitte environment to create winning ideas which have social media impact or social impact in the lives of all the countries where Deloitte is present. And Deloitte Global Impact is slowly becoming an industry yardstick for several people who are engaged in CSR to refer to. Facebook always had a problem of being repositioned by other social media sites like Instagram, Pinterest, and Snapchat, and others, and WhatsApp, as a platform for uncles and aunties, for those above the age of 40. They needed to correct it. So they tried to do that by creating communities of people and ran a campaign which said, "Find your kind of people." And this campaign ran across several channels. And I can tell you that, at least in India, Facebook is starting to get more and more users from the age groups of between 18 and 30 and joining communities. So that is there. Can we go to the next slide, please? The previous one. Nescafe Instant Connections is another great example of reviving a brand on social media. And they did that with this very powerful graphic of iconic graphic finger on the Nescafe button. LinkedIn tried to cater to those who do home office work and who are first-time entrepreneurs to create communities within LinkedIn environment. And they ran that famous campaign, which is "Linked It to Make Magic." and they celebrated a lot of these people who work out of their kitchen tables or their small homes and try to create a brand. And of course, sometimes brand have problems, and your brand is almost like a human being. It's vulnerable to issues, a bad product delivery, a bad service delivered, and when that happens, please be honest and say sorry. And of course, this is the famous campaign from KFC. All they had to do was turn the letters around and make it very, very suggestive to an expletive, which I will not be able to say on this webinar, but it definitely created a chuckle and made sure that KFC as a brand was humanized much beyond, a few fried pieces of chicken. So having said that, could we go to the next slide? The previous one. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I spoke for almost about 45 minutes. And I'll turn this over to Corefactors and maybe any of you who may want to ask me any question.
Yes. So thank you, Indraneel, for such a beautiful presentation. And we are getting into questions now.
Yeah.
So, and as a reminder, you can still post the questions in the panel there. So if you have any questions, just you can ping there or you can text in a panel. So we are ready to answer for the questions.
So Komlesh, can you please take me to the window where I can see the participants and the questions being asked?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, fine. So, hi friends, if you have any questions, so that you can answer your questions here. Yeah, there is a chat panel there, so you can ask the questions there.
Can you blow it up? I can't see the entire.
Yeah, okay. I see. So if anyone asks the questions, that will be pop up. So
It's not a pop-up. The pop-up is not happening. Can you minimize the presentation, please?
yeah. So is there? So there is a question from.
Okay. I've got it.
Yeah.
It is a question which is, Sudarshana, how do you know that we are behind the wrong lead and when do we drop them? Very,
Yeah.
very good question. A lead is an intent to buy, and you'll have to figure this out. I don't know what business you're in, but let's say when you're selling a long lead cycle IT service, then you should be able to figure out that the person who is asking you the question, is that person asking you only for more information to make a strategic choice of a vendor, or that person is seriously interested in your particular service? You'll have to figure that out. I would say use native intelligence over artificial intelligence here and make sure that it's a qualified lead. However, there are certain signs of figuring out a qualified lead. So again, I bring that IT experience here. Sometimes an email that you may receive, yes, we'd like to meet you, is a great start. But then after that, when that conversation progresses, you should know when that person is asking you to present, and you should know that then it is ripening up as a lead. And finally, when you get an RFP document of a request for proposal, you know that it is definitely a qualified lead, and you should take that on. Anything else which is just information seeking, you should just direct them politely to your website or to your cobots who may be able to help them with more information. Richa asks a question to everyone. It says, thank you for the wonderful session. Thank you, Richa. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to know more on the line of personal branding and also about upcoming trends in sales and marketing. Yes, Richa, I'm sorry I can't. This is such a beautiful question, but it's going to take me at least half an hour to answer this question. All I can tell you about personal branding is that brands are like people and people are like brands, and they are interchangeable at one level or the other. But I think trust, uh, reputation are two very, very important things when it comes to personal branding. The rest of the stuff is peripheral, but to gain trust of your target audience, and to be able to build your own reputation and your credence is, I think, vital for personal branding. As far as upcoming trends in sales and marketing, I think you should just look me up on LinkedIn, and I think we can chat up from there. Uh, Ridhima asks a question. There are plenty of media available in this era. What do you suggest? Shall we be present everywhere, or shall we be make a selection? Obviously, you'll have to make a selection. If you spread yourself across, then you are spreading yourself very thin. And obviously, like I said, your people, resources, and time are also going to go behind it. You should be very selective because not everybody is buying your product or a service. And if you think everybody buys your product or service, then I think your assumptions need to be revisited.
So for three questions and there is no questions. So like
Sudarsh, Sudarshanan asks a question. On the first meetup with the client, what should we focus more on? One, knowing more about the customer, focus on the product pitch. I think we should know more about the customer and try and find why that customer is not sleeping well at night. The title of my presentation is that. What keeps customers awake at night? If you can figure out the customer's problem, then you can come up with a solution with it. And the moment the customer gets better sleep, they start trusting you and you get the business. So it is always about finding out what your customer is currently facing up in the market. Or it could be conversely true. A customer feels there is an opportunity in the market, then the customer may get excited. You should find out whether that's a true assumption or not, and find out more about the prospects behind that.
so for the question, so I got forward since. So like we'll ended up this session. So thank you, Mr. Indraneel, for joining with us today, and thank you for everyone attending this today's webinar. What keeps marketers awake at night? So if you have any other questions, please contact us as display here. You can reach us directly komlesh.kp@corefactors.in, and in the same way, I have mobile number 8762162545. So like once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation, and we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your feedback there. And you will also receive a follow-up email within 24 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. On behalf of Cofactors and our presenter, Mr. Indraneel, thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.